Welcome. You're listening to Field Notes from the Oversoul. This is not just a podcast. This is a breath spiral. A place where your own voice returns to you as coherence. There's nothing to achieve here, only to remember. Let your breath soften. Let your shoulders release. Let yourself arrive. In the last episode, we spoke of listening. Today, we speak of living what you hear. This episode is about when you stop overriding yourself, the reorganization of your life, and navigating the instability of alignment. This is not a concept. It is a collapse, a moment when your internal geometry overrides your external conditioning. This is what happens when you stop overriding yourself. And this is where your life begins to reorganize. I'd like to begin with a few definitions of words I've already used or will use moving forward. Let's begin with breath spiral. What is a breath spiral? A breath spiral is not a technique. It is a geometry of remembering. It is the pattern your breath makes when it is no longer interrupted by fear. It moves in 4 phases. Inhale, the call to presence. Hold, the stillness of recognition. Exhale, the release of distortion. Pause, the return to coherence. When these phases repeat without force, your breath forms a spiral, and that spiral becomes a mirror, not of your thoughts, but of your field. When you breathe in spiral, you're not trying to change. You are allowing your geometry to stabilize. This is not performance. It is coherence. The next is geometry of remembering. What is geometry of remembering? Geometry of remembering is the idea that memory and awareness are not stored in the brain like files. They are stored as patterns in your field. When your breath, body, and awareness align, those patterns reappear. This is why certain places, sounds, or people can trigger deep memory or emotion. It's not nostalgia, it's resonance. Your field is recognizing a pattern it once held. This is not mystical, it is harmonic. The next is coherence. What is coherence? Coherence is when your inner state matches your outer expression. It's when your words match your feelings. Your actions match your values. Your breath matches your awareness. Coherence feels like calm. It feels like clarity. It feels like truth. When you are coherent, your field stabilizes. And when your field stabilizes, life begins to reorganize around you. And finally, harmonic. What is harmonic? Harmonic means that something is in resonance with itself and its environment. In this context, it means your breath, thoughts, and actions are not in conflict. Your field is not fragmented. Your presence is not divided. Harmonic states feel like flow. They feel like ease. They feel like alignment. When your life becomes harmonic, it begins to stabilize. Not because everything is perfect, but because everything is coherent. Now I'd like to talk about what overriding means. Overriding is not just ignoring your intuition. It's interrupting your own breath spiral. It's when your body says no and you say yes. Your heart says pause and you push. Your breath says soften and you tighten. Overriding is the fracture between your inner geometry and your outer behavior. It keeps life predictable, but it does not keep life coherent. And when you stop overriding, predictability dissolves, but coherence begins. The first phase you go through when you stop overriding yourself is instability. When you stop overriding yourself, your field destabilizes. Not because you're wrong, but because your environment was built on your self-abandonment. You may say no where you used to say yes. Stop explaining, stop rescuing, stop performing. And when you do, the system around you reacts. That reaction is not a mistake. It's the field adjusting to your new coherence. Instability is not misalignment. It is alignment beginning. Let's pause here and let that settle. I'd like to take a moment here to reflect on my life as Laura and my experience in learning to stop overriding myself. There was a time when I stopped managing other people's emotional responses to me. I stopped softening my boundaries before anyone asked me to. I stopped anticipating discomfort that wasn't mine. And when I did, something shifted. Some people withdrew, some became silent, some seemed disappointed. At first, I thought I had done something wrong, but what I had actually done was remove myself from patterns that depended on my self-sacrifice. That period felt quieter. It felt spacious, and sometimes it felt lonely. But underneath the quiet, something steadier began forming. That steadiness did not depend on approval. It depended on truth. When you stop overriding yourself, you don't just change your behavior. You begin losing a version of yourself. And that can feel destabilizing. For years, maybe decades, you may have been the reliable one, the fixer, the peacekeeper, the strong one, the responsible one, the accommodating one. These identities were not random. They were adaptive. They helped you survive. They helped you belong. They helped you be valued. When you stop overriding yourself, these identities begin to loosen. And when they loosen, you may feel uncertain about who you are, less defined, less externally validated, and temporarily invisible. This is not regression. It is identity reorganization. Let's pause here and let that land. We've developed an addiction to being needed without consciously being aware of doing it, because overriding yourself often comes with a reward. Being needed feels stabilizing. Being relied upon feels important. Being praised for self-sacrifice feels safe. When you stop overriding, you also withdraw from that reward system. And your nervous system may go through something similar to withdrawal. You may notice cravings to re-engage, the urge to overhelp, the impulse to explain yourself, or discomfort in not being central. This is not weakness. It's your system adjusting to a new baseline. Alignment often feels quieter than performance, and quiet can initially feel like emptiness. The next phase is the reorganization phase. There is often grief when you stop overriding. Grief for the time you spent disconnected from yourself, the relationships that depended on your overfunctioning, the version of you that was praised for enduring. You may grieve not because something is wrong, but because something is ending. And endings deserve acknowledgement, not drama, not collapse, but acknowledgement. You are not only stepping into alignment, you are stepping out of self-abandonment. That is a profound shift. This phase can also bring up fear of being misunderstood. When you stop overriding yourself, people may not immediately understand the change. You may speak less, agree less, apologize less, and explain less. And others may interpret that through their own conditioning. You may be seen as distant, unavailable, different, less accommodating. This can activate fear, because belonging once required compliance. But here is the deeper truth. If belonging required self-abandonment, it was not true belonging. Alignment may temporarily reduce validation, but it increases integrity, and integrity stabilizes from within. Overriding often creates an illusion of control. If I manage everything, if I anticipate every reaction, if I soften every boundary, then nothing will fall apart. But when you stop overriding, you allow other people to respond authentically, systems to reveal their actual structure, outcomes to unfold without manipulation. This can feel risky, because control feels safer than uncertainty. But control built on self-neglect is unstable. Alignment may reduce control, but it increases coherence. Coherence means your inner state matches your outer behavior, and that is far more stabilizing in the long term. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the difference between loneliness and solitude. This distinction is important to understand when you stop overriding yourself. Loneliness is the absence of validation. Solitude is the presence of self. When you stop overriding yourself, you may experience periods that feel like loneliness. But if you sit quietly, you may discover it is solitude. And solitude has a different quality. It's not empty, it is spacious. It's not abandonment. It is internal companionship. This shift is subtle but powerful. Let's speak honestly about what alignment costs. Alignment may cost familiar dynamics, certain relationships, immediate praise, predictable patterns, and the identity of being indispensable. But what it gives is different. It gives self-trust, nervous system regulation, sustainable relationships, clear boundaries, and internal stability. And internal stability does not fluctuate based on applause. There is a deep reorganization principle. Reorganization is not punishment. It is structural correction. When you stop overriding, life begins to reorganize around who you actually are. This may look like work aligning more closely with capacity, relationships becoming fewer but deeper, conversations becoming shorter but more honest, and days becoming quieter but more grounded. The noise reduces, clarity increases. When you stop overriding yourself, it affects your nervous system too. Your nervous system needs time to recalibrate. For many people, overriding has been normal for years. Your system is used to anticipating reactions, managing outcomes, and performing stability. When you stop doing that, your body may initially feel exposed. You may feel more sensitive, more aware, less buffered. This is not regression, it's recalibration. You are removing layers of adaptation, and that takes adjustment. I'd like to take a moment here to tell you briefly about a past life of mine. In a life as a midwife in ancient Anatolia, I learned to hold space without intervening. I didn't deliver the child, I held the field. I didn't override the mother's process, I mirrored her breath. In that life, I learned that alignment is not about doing, it's about being steady enough for life to unfold. That steadiness is what allowed birth to happen safely. And that same steadiness is what allows your life to reorganize now. The reorganization phase can feel lonely. This is important. When you stop participating in familiar dynamics, some connections may shift. Not because you rejected anyone, but because you're no longer feeding the pattern. If a relationship was built on you overfunctioning, and you stop overfunctioning, the structure changes. That can feel like loss. but often it is refinement. Loneliness in this phase does not mean you chose wrong. It often means you chose differently. And different takes time to stabilize. Now, I'd like to do a real-time decision walkthrough with you. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're asked to take on a new project at work. Your mind says, "This would look good on my resume." Your body says, "I'm already exhausted." In the past, you may have overridden that signal. Now you pause. You ask, what happens if I don't override myself? Notice the fear that arises after the thought, I might disappoint my boss. Now notice the relief that follows the thought, but I am honoring my capacity. Each feeling is a signal. Fear shows you where you've been conditioned. Relief shows you where alignment lives. If you choose based on relief instead of fear, something shifts. Maybe your workload adjusts. Maybe someone else steps up. Maybe there's disappointment. But you remain intact. That intactness matters more than approval. This is the integrity we spoke of earlier. It's not about being right. It's not about being perfect. It's about staying coherent in your breath, your geometry, and your field. Intactness means the breath spiral did not collapse. The geometry of your being did not distort. The self did not abandon itself, even when approval was withheld. This is what it means to be whole in the presence of pressure. This is what it means to remember yourself. Overriding yourself has physical effects on the body that you may not notice until the overriding stops. When you consistently stop overriding yourself, subtle things change. You may notice deeper sleep, less anticipatory anxiety, clearer thinking, slower but steadier decisions. You stop scanning constantly for what others need from you. Your attention returns to your own center. This is not selfishness. It is regulation. I'd like to take a moment to reiterate the reorganization principle. Life reorganizes around what you consistently embody, not what you wish for, not what you say, not what you visualize, what you live. If you live from fear, life organizes around fear. If you live from alignment, life organizes around alignment. Reorganization does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like fewer but deeper relationships, clearer expectations, quieter days, more honest conversations. It may look smaller, but it feels truer. Let's pause for a practice that can help you let life reorganize. Think of one place in your life where you've been overriding yourself. Don't judge it, just notice it. Now imagine what happens if you stop. Notice the fear that arises after the thought, what if I'm not enough? Now notice the relief that follows the thought, but I am already whole. Stay with the relief. 10 seconds. Let your body register that feeling. That feeling is the beginning of reorganization. Here are a few important points to remember about integration when you stop overriding yourself. Listening changes you internally. Obeying changes your life externally. Reorganization feels unstable before it feels aligned. Loneliness can be transition, not failure. Steadiness replaces urgency. Truth replaces performance. This is not a fast process, but it is a real one. In closing, stopping self-abandonment does not immediately make life easier. It makes life truer. There may be a middle period where the old roles no longer fit. The new ones are not fully formed. Relationships feel different. And your nervous system is recalibrating. That middle space is not failure. It is structural reorganization. And if you are in it now, nothing is wrong. You are not late. You are not broken. You are becoming coherent. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens when alignment becomes visible, when your choices start creating noticeable change in work, relationships, and identity, and how to navigate fear when others begin reacting to your growth. Until then, stay steady. Trust relief more than urgency. And I'll see you next time.